My question, which is for all panelists, is that what policies and strategies should the government, the Nigerian Exchange Group, the capital market, should they adopt to ensure further market adoption and scalability of the tech board? And starting with Kendall as well. Yeah.
Oh, good. So the numbers you stated are huge numbers, right? And you would think that's numbers going in. So that's numbers of investment going into various startups at different stages of the development. But what's the important number is actually how much of that, after value has been created, is can exit out back to the investor so that they can get a return, so that they can do the same thing and recycle the capital again, and then continue that whole loop of value creation, right? And so a board, just like the technology board, is something that is coming in at the right time, because most of this money has come in the last 5 years. And so some investors, depending on the earlier stage investors, will be looking to exit. And then some of the customers and some of the startups and the services and products that they've developed, they're now, the market is now aware about them, and they would like to also follow them as they step through that. Because obviously, I know we've been saying unicorn, which is $1 billion, but there are huge companies. We have companies all the way to Apple, which is $1 trillion, right? So there's still a long way to go, and there's a lot of value that can be created between 1 billion and even 10 billion. And so that's where retail investors would love to participate. I like what Oswald said about the Paystack exit, where he would have loved it if it were on an exchange where he can also take part in that step from 1 billion to 10, and from 10 to 100 and $1 trillion and all of that, as the case may be. So one of the things which I was happy about when I learned about the technology board is that the combination of NGX with the SEC and also support from CBN is looking at starting this technology board, which will be great at the right, and it's also coming at the right time, because after about 5 years, depending on how you funded your startup, if you're a US Delaware company, you can take advantage of tax benefits by exiting after 5 years of holding your investment. Thank you.
What do you think the NGX market operators can do to one, encourage companies to list on the technology board, and also how can they contribute to make sure that some of these challenges can be avoided? Over to you, Kendall.
Oh, okay, so on compliance aspect is obviously what you have to have a business before you, in order to have anything to comply to. But I think the NGX has taken a proactive role in ensuring that the rules, along with SEC, are able to protect investors that do want to invest in the technology board. And so some of those rules, those governance rules, which are some of them are standard, some of them, those things are things that even the startups, if you look at the way they are funded past Series A, those things are already in place, because obviously most of them are US companies, so they have them in some form. And so some of the things you're seeing are very early stage companies, but as they mature, they tend to put these things in place. And maybe some of the information that you're getting is actually the lag between when they just started and when they get their licenses, because obviously if you're regulated by any of the regulators, I'm regulated by SEC, the fintechs, or get their license from CBN and all of that, right? And so those things are in place, and so that's ongoing as you mature as a company. But if we look at the environment we are now, we're in a high interest environment, right? And so typically what that would mean is people, investors, institutions, which pension funds, with majority of them, will be looking into investing in debt and investors' equity because of the environment we are in today, right? But what will help with equity is the fact that you can get a significant capital appreciation. I talked about the companies are 1 billion, but they'll grow to 10 billion, and it's that kind of allowing the appreciation on the capital market that we expect to see on the technology board that will make it interesting for companies to want to list, and for the other market operators to contribute, because that way they can see that if the company's valuation can appreciate in the market more faster than any returns that they can get from investing in debt, that it becomes a no-brainer for them to invest. The other thing is everyone, the exchange rate, right, which is the bigger problem, because some of these companies raise funds in US dollars and they want to exit into a market, obviously. So what can help is, I know the rules around foreign ETFs on the main board and all of that, something around that would also help. Some subset of that, working with the CBN, that would allow early investors also to exit and be able to repatriate those the existing capital that they put into the business. That would help. That then also becomes a no-brainer in that situation, where if you can then repatriate the proceeds from when you exit via secondary into the exchange. Those 2 points, if there are the things I think right off the bat. Then next thing will be the investor education on the retail side. Retail has if you think about how you've invested in crypto, invested in FX trading and all of that. So a lot of education needs to happen over the next couple of weeks, months, so that they are aware that of the technology board. That's a significant aspect, because even in the US, they've shown the meme stocks and all of that, that retail can actually move markets a lot. And the same thing can happen in Nigeria once they're aware. Think about all the things they've even already been investing in, some of their Greek schemes and all of that. If some of those capital or a large chunk of it is moved towards the technology board, then you have a huge, you have all the operators that you need to actually make the technology board function. Thank you.
Now, Kendall, has Tizeti been able to navigate the business environment in Nigeria, right, amidst the peculiar economic challenges? And how do you continue to fund the growth plans that you have for Tizeti? And do you do this via the capital market?
Thank you. We've been in business 10 years. First 5, we bootstrapped. We're able to, without any capital, without any investors, get to $1 million annual recurring revenue. And then we're fortunate to get accepted into Y Combinator, and we're able to then raise seed and Series A funding. And then in 2018, by 2018, we had become profitable. And 2019, expanded beyond Lagos and to multiple states, Oyo, Ogun, and Edo. And then right at the beginning of the pandemic, right, because we own and operate our own towers, our own infrastructure, we're able to then, basically the pandemic accelerated our business for an internet provider like us, everyone in the telecoms industry, and we're able to grow significantly and become profitable, and have been profitable for the last couple of years, all through the pandemic, and even got to where we're dividend paying in the last year. So in 2021, we should have paid our first dividends. And so this, from the last few years, we've been building a business based on fundamentals, and because we actually have real assets and infrastructure, and we've been debt free too. So we've not had the normal drag on interest expense on our P&L, and that's how we've been able to fund the business. But we're also now seeing that there's a huge, even larger opportunity beyond just growing at the pace of our free cash flow, and it's then possible to tap capital markets to grow even more and expand beyond the 5 states we are in, and be in 30 more states, or even being more than the 2 countries we are in today, Nigeria and Ghana. And so for us, this technology board is coming at the right time, where again, if you look at what's happening in the US, the SPACs they're not performing as well. Even the companies that are African, that have tried to list internationally, IHS, Jumia, they're all, even the regular technology companies are all 50-60% down. And so there's an opportunity, if your business, the bulk of your business and revenues in local currency, to be able to then tap an exchange locally to raise business. And we can also do this across multiple countries too. Ghana has their own exchange. And so technology board is coming at the right time, and it's one of the options and one of the tools that we can use to then grow our business significantly. Thank you.